Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. This is the next workshop from StreamerSquare, and today we are going to be talking about StreamLabs OBS. We're going to be diving in straight from the beginner's point where nobody knows anything, and by the end of this, you're going to be ready to go live. We're going to make it super easy, and I mean, honestly, StreamLabs makes it super easy. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Let me know in chat if the background music is a good level with the actual audio. I would already know that if I was using StreamLabs to present this, but since I'm going to be showing y'all StreamLabs, I actually have to be presenting this with OBS Studio, which was a lot of relearning for me. So just let me know how the sound works, and if the background music is matching up. And without further ado, let's get into it. What is StreamLabs? StreamLabs OBS is StreamLabs Open Broadcaster software. You may be familiar with other open broadcaster softwares because there are other popular ones. One is called OBS, which is just open broadcaster software, and there's also XSplit, which is a lot. Those are both kind of the older ones. StreamLabs is kind of, relatively new to the scene. It's free to use, and in my opinion, it's the easiest to set up, it's the quickest to use, and feel free to disagree with me. Talk to me about how easy OBS is, but I'm going to tell you why I like Slobs. Oh, and I'm also going to be calling it Slobs the entire time. That's StreamLabs OBS, but it's so much easier. So, what does Slob do? Like Twitch, if you're brand new to Twitch and you want to get going, Twitch does not take direct inputs from your camera, your microphone, your video game, anything that you're trying to put onto the stream does not interface directly with Twitch. Instead, you need a program to package it all together and send it to Twitch as a finished product. So think of Slobs as kind of like the TV set. It's where the microphone, the furniture, the actors, the cameras, everything gets put together in Slobs. And then Twitch is the TV station that just takes the finished product from the studio and sends it out to the world. So, what we're going to go over today and what you're going to learn today that's going to make you able to stream even if you've never touched a streaming platform before is we're going to go over downloading and installing the program. The simplest thing. We're going to go over initial configuration, including bitrate, stream key, and default devices. Some of that might not make any sense to you right now, but StreamLabs, again, makes it super easy. We're going to go over setting up your first scene. Then we're going to go over scene collections and switching scenes, what that means, how you can use it to your advantage, how you can keep things organized in your program. Finally, we're going to go over testing and recording, which is a huge part because so much of what I'm going to tell you today, especially near the end when it comes to audio and stuff, I can't just tell you what numbers to plug in. We all have different microphones, different environments. Some of you may have a lot of sound bouncing off the walls. Some of you might not. So things like that are going to be very different, but I'm going to show you how to navigate that in a way that will make sense to you and hopefully be applicable to you. And then finally, we're going to go into audio settings, which I kind of said in the last one, but also on-the-fly adjustments. How to tweak little things, like if someone were to come in and say, hey, Wes, the background music is way too loud, can you turn it down a bit? I'd be like, yeah, I can do that real quick. Let me show you how. So, as I said, the first thing we're going to be doing is going over how to download and install the program. This is, like I said, going to be super simple, but honestly, let me show you right here. I think, yes. Okay, this is StreamLabs.com. This is the home page, and it is right here under Download StreamLabs. It doesn't get much easier. Oh my gosh, that screen is bright. I look like, shield your eyes from my forehead right now. So you just click Download StreamLabs, run that program, agree with anything that it asks you for admin privileges and stuff like that. If they end up changing this in the future, and I can't imagine they're going to change it that much where it becomes like hard to find where to download Streamlabs OBS, but right now it lives under products. So if you don't see it right there, if it displays differently, you can also just go to products, Streamlabs OBS, download it, run the program, agree with whatever it asks you, read the terms and conditions. Absolutely, though. Always do that on everything you install. After that, you're going to run the program, and it's actually going to do a lot of amazing things for you from there. You're not going to have to worry about a lot of the settings that we normally would have to worry about because Streamlabs does so much of that for you. So I'm going to show you how that works. So the first thing that it's going to ask you is to sign in with your streaming account to get started. I'm going to be doing this mostly from the place of setting up a Twitch account because that's what I know and that's what I use. So when I talk about this integration right now, I'm only talking about the Twitch integration. I can't really say exactly what it does on every single platform, but I do know that it aims to do basically the same things for each of the platforms. So when you connect your account here, you're going to be able to integrate your chat, which means that you're going to be able to see your chat in the slobs display so that when you go live, if you only have say one tablet or one monitor to go off on the side of your stream, you can have all of the stuff that Slobs has available, your audio mixer, your live monitoring and all that, but then you can also throw in the fact that you can see your chat right there. So it's a huge advantage in that sense. The other thing that it's going to allow you to do is category and title management. When I go live in Streamlabs OBS, it asks me before I go live what channel I want to be in, as far as like what category. Am I playing GTA 5 or am I going live and just chatting? Or, you know, whatever you want to go live in. And then it also allows you to set your title. And not only that it just allows you to do that, but it kind of prompts you when you go live, which is a great reminder to be like, oh yeah, I was playing Brawlhalla yesterday, but today I'm playing a completely different game, or I'm in just chatting, so I should change my category. So I've always really liked that extra little prompt that just says like, hey, you're about to go live, this is what your current category and title is. So that also comes from integrating your Twitch. So I would log in this way first. If you haven't made a Twitch account, go ahead and do that. It's super easy. All you need is an email address and then log in through your Twitch right here. The final thing that that's going to do is it's going to connect your stream key, which is crucial. It's super easy to do if you need to go into Twitch and do it later. If anybody has a question about that, I can absolutely go into that later once I've actually got slobs open and I can show y'all how to do that. Feel free to ask me that. But it's super easy. Right now, we want to connect with Twitch so that we can get to the next step and get all this stuff going. The next step is going to be, the scene setup. So this is, if you're coming from the most popular alternative, which would be OBS, and I know a lot of people are using OBS and thinking about potentially switching to slobs. If you already have a lot of stuff set up, you can import your existing settings here and get all of your scenes, your settings, configurations moved over in one click. Now, I'm not going to do that today. We're going to assume that you're starting fresh and that you need to do everything from the bottom because I'm here to teach, not to tell you how to click an import button and go live. That's super easy. The only thing that I want to say about this is that if you do decide to import when you're coming from a different platform, or I'm sorry, a different software like OBS, double check everything before you go live. From an IT standpoint, you never know what kind of mistranslations might happen from the from your old software to the new software. So test everything. I'm going to talk a little bit about the best ways to test when we get a little bit further in here. But like I said, if you're importing, just test everything. So, like I said, for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to be focusing on starting fresh. That way, if you're brand new to this, you can follow along from your first time setting up. If you're coming back to Slobs and you haven't used it in a while, you can follow along and refresh, double check your settings. And if you did import from OBS, you can still watch along, because we're going to go into some settings and maybe things are a little bit different and maybe things didn't translate right, but we're going to make sure you're ready to go by the end of this. So, webcam and microphone. The next step that it's going to ask you is basically to set these things up. It is going to ask you what you want your defaults to be. Most of the time, it is going to automatically default to the two that you want it to. For most people, it'll automatically pull up their C920 and their Yeti microphone, if that's what they've got installed. It's going to prioritize those over, say, your default or internal devices. Once you do this, it's going to help you a lot in the further scene creation, because these defaults play a big part in how you're setting this up. So, if for whatever reason you ever need to change this, it's super simple. Again, when you go into the settings, you're going to see it right there on your default devices. We'll get to that later if someone has a question, but honestly, this initial optimization and configuration process from StreamLabs is so easy to use and set up that I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with it, but we'll get into that later if you do. The next one, oh, I love this one so much. Okay, so what it does is it analyzes your internet speed and your hardware to give you the best settings possible. This automatically sets up all the technical settings I was talking about, like your bitrate and your resolution and all of your basically all of your settings that relate to, your encoding is a big one. But it basically detects everything on its own. I used it to go live with behind the streams and my personal streams before that, and I literally just click optimize and boom, it populates all of these settings. I don't have to worry about anything, and honestly, all of my streams have worked out like super well with no technical issues. Well, at least that weren't outside factors. We all have bad ISPs and, stuff like that. But you used to have to do like a bunch of speed tests and research to figure out your ideal bitrate and encoding. This, you just run it, and when you're done, you're good to go. You can also run this process again anytime something changes, which is really great. If you upgrade your internet from 50 download to 100 download and the upload increases at the same rate, it's so easy to just run this again. If you buy a new computer or change out your CPU or something, you can just run the optimize again. It's super easy to do from the settings, and boom, you're good to go again. It may change some settings for you, but from what I've found, there's no issues with it. It gets you up and running like easily, and it's a good way to avoid a lot of like technical BS that nobody really wants to go through. The final question that it's going to ask you is if you want to enable multi-stream. Now, multi-stream is if you want to streaming on Twitch and another platform at the same time. So let's say you want to go live on Facebook Gaming at the same time that you are on Twitch, and maybe you want to add in YouTube to that. You can multi-stream to like several places at the same time, depending on your contract. Can someone hit the disclaimer on that one? You may have a contract, like if you've accepted partner or affiliate or partner with Twitch, you're not allowed to restream the same content within 24 hours. So you need to be very careful. Right now, I'm going to assume that you don't want to multi-stream, because we could have probably another half a workshop just on multi-streaming and some of the complications. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I think it's an amazing thing to do, especially when you're starting and you want to grow. But we're focusing on the Slobs basics right now. If you're interested in multi-streaming, definitely look up an article on that, because there's some things to take into consideration on that. So, on that note, I think we can get right into, that's the last slide. Beautiful. So now we can get into the fun stuff. Let me go to my basic scene collection, and we'll talk about all of this right from the top. So, the first screen that you're taken to, and the screen where you're doing much of your configuration and spending a lot of your time, is the editor screen. That would also be denoted by this up in the top left corner there. That tells me that I'm in the editor screen. This is where you'll set up each of your scenes, configure your inputs, test your transitions, and basically everything. So let's go through all of the sections that you're seeing here one at a time. We're going to start on the left and go to the right, because that's actually how I suggest building your scenes as well. You kind of need to start in this bottom left and move to the right outward, and you'll see why in just a minute here. So first, we've got the scene collection down here. This is where your different scenes kind of live. A scene is the combination of all the overlays, the audio, the video sources, everything that is from a specific scene is what you're broadcasting. You'll always have a scene active, which is why I can't delete the new scene here, or the default scene. Examples of different scenes would be, before I went live, you saw a starting soon screen that was playing music and playing that video on repeat of the starting soon logo. That was my starting soon scene. Right now, I'm in a scene that has a camera and this box displaying next to me. And if I wanted to change scenes right now, this is a different scene. This is a scene. This is a scene. So, as you're setting up these different scenes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean. You can also have scene collections, which can be super important. You can see right here that I am working on, it says scenes. That's the name of the scene collection. If I wanted to rename that, I would probably name that like test or workshop scenes, because that's all I'm using it for today. But to give you an idea of how it works, this would be my collection of scenes for my own streaming, which is just a bunch of stupid memes and stuff like that. I've got my stream starting soon, be right back, intermission. So this is my scene collection that's called Star Industries 2, and then these are the individual scenes within it. If we wanted to look at behind the streams, it's a similar situation. These are all of the different scenes that I have in this collection, but the collection is called Behind the Streams. So why is that even useful? Why would you use scene collections? They're super useful for a couple reasons. If you do like a weekly game show where, let's say, you're Dylan in chat, and you do on Saturday nights, you play a completely different game than you normally do. Maybe you want a different collection of scenes that's more related to that game. Maybe you're like me and you host a talk show once a week, and that is completely different from your stream. So I don't want my Be Right Back screen to get confused with the Be Right Back screen of the talk show. So I make different scene collections, and that avoids the problem entirely. So, moving on, we've got sources. If we're looking at the sources here, actually, I don't think I did this in the, in my head beforehand, but I think it's probably easier to look at it, one that's already made, like this one, which would be, you can see my sources in the middle here are Discord, microphone, and what I call 2 cams. Now, 2 cams is an image file, but basically what goes in the sources are all the different elements of the scene. Now, that can be audio sources and it can be visual sources. So if I wanted to add my camera into this scene right now, that would go in here. If I wanted to add, and you can see which I did, is just Discord sounds, I could add that here as well. So it contains both your audio and your visual elements tied together. And then finally, we've got the audio mixer on the right. So this is where you can see the current volume of everything that is on that scene and making noise at that moment. I'm gonna repeat that because it's imperative to understand that it is anything that is on that scene and making noise only at that moment. That if you are doing a test for a scene, let's say I've got pretzel music playing right now, but I don't hear it because I've got it going to a different source, and it's also not on this scene. If I go to the intro scene, you might see it because I might have pretzel going as a source to that scene. But without getting too much into it, just keep that in mind when you're testing. If you're looking to see what your volume levels are and you're not playing all the volume that you would be during a stream, you're not really doing yourself justice as a test. So keep that stuff in mind. Again, we're going to get more into testing and how you should do it a little bit further into this, but for now, we'll go ahead and move on to the very last section. Well, actually, there's two more sections. This one's a small one, but we'll start at the very top up here. This is going to be your preview. This is where you can see a preview of the currently selected scene. So what you see here is going to be exactly what is output to your stream if you were to hit go live. Now, there are sometimes issues where, let's say, I capture a game and on my preview up here, it looks like the game is frozen. And I'm like, is the game actually frozen? Because on my screen, it's still going. Trust your preview. Your preview is showing what is actually going to your stream. So trust it. If it shows that your game is frozen, it doesn't mean your game is frozen for you, but it does mean that it's frozen for the stream. Because this preview is live and this preview is accurate. So keep that in mind. And then below that, the mini feed. This is basically where it's just going to put notifications. Your follows, your tips, your subscriptions, all that stuff is going to show up right here. And when you go live, if you've connected your Twitch account, you're also going to see your chat pop up in the side over here. So you're going to have your mini feed telling you what's going on as far as tips, donos, subs, follows, all that good stuff. But you're also going to see your chat. So then this screen becomes like everything that you need all in one screen. So if you're an aspiring streamer and you're low on screen space, this has got you taken care of. You just need one monitor max to keep all of this stuff going. So we went all over all of the parts. We know what we're looking at in the screen that we're going to be using the most here. So what do we do with this? Let's go to a brand new one. We're going to go back to scenes, which is like kind of my test collection here. And let's make this scene as basic as we can go. Let's make the entire screen my webcam, and with just my microphone and desktop audio as the audio source. So as I mentioned, we're going to build a scene left to right. So we're going to start in the scenes collection down here and move over to sources and then to mixer. So to add the very first scene, we're going to click the plus sign right here and we're going to name it and confirm. Now you can hit new scene here. You can just hit done. Name your scenes. I was there one time as a young Jedi and I had like 8 scenes that were all new scene 1 through 8, and it was terrible. Just name your scenes, you'll thank yourself later. I'm gonna go with full face cam because that's what we're gonna do here. Boom. Now, there's another button right next to that plus button. That's the minus button. That removes the scene. I'm gonna do that now because it won't let you remove your last scene because like I said, you always have to be using a scene of some sort or your stream is just a black screen with no audio. So I'm gonna remove this default one that's called new scene and I'm gonna hit OK. Make sure you are absolutely sure that you want to delete that scene because this is permanent. Boom. And that's gone. So, with a blank scene, we need to add some sources. What do we want on here? We're going to do just like we did for scenes over here, and we are going to click add a new source to your scene. Boom! This is gorgeous. Okay, so we want to add our webcam, but right here, StreamLabs just gave us all the essential parts of a stream, as well as a bunch of really fun extra stuff that we can add to our scene. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Viewer count, sponsor banner, window capture, image slideshow, display. A lot of cool stuff, but we're going to start basic. We're going to go into something that would be more of what's considered like a regular stream with at least a camera and a display capture, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But for right now, we're going to start with just my webcam because we want a full Wes. That's all we want, is just a big forehead stream. So they've used the term video capture device instead of webcam. The reason that they've done that is because this is also how you are going to use an integrated webcam. If you have like a laptop, this is how you're going to use a webcam that you plug into USB, like the Logitech C920 that I'm using. And this is also how you're going to be using, or adding rather, a capture card. So if you are playing on a different console and trying to send that information through your stream, or through StreamLabs into your stream, you're going to be using the video capture device. But the thing that most of us are going to be using it for, especially right off the bat, is just a webcam. So I'm going to add that source. I'm going to call it something because, again, sources, just like scenes, if you don't name them, it becomes a big, gross mess. So I'm going to call this one webcam. Seems intuitive. Boom. It should automatically fill with the default device that you chose earlier. Now, right now, you're seeing a blank square right here, a black square, and that's just because I am sending my camera information to OBS right now because I'm streaming. And you do not have to rename every source every time, actually. That's a great question. If I am using a webcam with the same settings on a new scene, I can just add webcam again. It's going to remember all of your sources. So if you have a source that you call topic bar on every channel, let's say you're like a politics streamer or something, and you always have something like this StreamLabs OBS basics that you see down there, then you can just re-add that to every scene, which is really nice. It helps a lot and that's also another great reason to make sure that you're naming your scenes and sources, because if you want to reuse that source, it's going to be super easy to find if you named it Assassin's Creed versus just calling it game capture, because each game capture might point to a different game. So great question, thank you for that. So as I said, right now you see a black square, and that's because my webcam is currently in use by OBS. I can't do anything about that. That's kind of just how webcams work, and I don't have two webcams. So when you're setting this up on your own Streamlabs, you should see a live video feed right here. If you don't see a live video feed, then something's not right. Just like that screenshot I showed you earlier of More setting this up, it should look like this. Like, it should have your webcam selected, but it should also be showing you a live preview of what that webcam would look like if you are live right now. So obviously that's not working for me right now because of reasons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an image source. And we're going to pretend, just for the sake of this for a minute, and we're going to call it Wes Fake Webcam. And for the purposes of this, we're going to pretend that this is me. My webcam. Beautiful, right? All right, so it'll automatically pull up the webcam that you set as the default. You put it in there. Now on yours, this is going to be a moving picture. If you're talking to yourself right there, you should be able to see it in your preview right here. Because what happens is you actually now, this preview area becomes your workshop. So if I want to make this a true full screen camera, I can just drag it, not quite the right dimensions because I took it portrait, but there's no such thing as too much Wes, is what my grandma used to always say. So actually, let's focus on the important part here. All right, so perfect. That looks like a good stream. So beautiful. I've got my full screen webcam, or fake webcam, set up right now. And if I wanted to go live and talk to you all, like I'm talking to you right now, and The only thing that I want you to hear is, let's say I'm playing my copyright-free music in the background and I want to talk to my chat. I can hit go live right now. And I've got my webcam going. I've got whatever I'm listening to, they're listening to, and you can already see my mic going here. So how did that happen? The audio for many scenes is taken care of for us by StreamLabs. By default, StreamLabs captures your desktop audio, so anything playing through your speakers or headphones is automatically going to play to your stream as well. And because we already set up the default microphone in that first step, StreamLabs automatically adds that to the scene as well, because they're assuming that you're going to be talking whatever you're doing. So again, if I just wanted to chat and have my music playing in the background and go live right now, I'd be ready. So boom, we've got our first scene. Let's take it up a notch. Let's add a capture source and an overlay, right? So we want to make a new scene here because we want to go a little bit more in depth. What can you actually do with this that would be more interesting than just a full forehead camera and chatting with your audience and listening to some music? Let's go with we'll call this 2-person cam because I know what I'm going to do with this one. But name it whatever you're going to do. I'm just using this as an example. And what I'm going to do is kind of like the same way that I set that image that would have been my webcam. I'm going to set another image, except this time it's going to be an overlay. For this particular one, it's a pretty big overlay. It takes up a lot of the screen. But I'm going to kind of show you some cool things with that, because when the overlay takes up more of the screen, it actually takes a little bit more to figure out how to position things. So I'm going to teach you some like cool little pro tricks on the way as well. And back to Sager's question, see, I've already made an image source. So it's asking me if I want to add an existing source or add a new source. And I want to add a new source, and I'm going to call this one 2cam overlay. Oops. We're going to ignore my typo there. And the @cam overlay is going to be, let's call it, actually, let's use this one. This will give us even more cool stuff to show you. So I'm using some stuff from behind the streams right now. But basically, like I said, once you get that image in there, depending on the size, it may take up, and this is true for your webcam or any source that you add, it depends on the file size and the dimensions of the previous, or the actual source on where it's gonna go. But it's so easy to move stuff around in here, anchor it to different corners, drag it to fit the screen. It automatically locks to the corner for me. Like, it's just so easy to do. So boom. That's what we're gonna do. So now I've got this image, and this is actually a PNG. This is going to be just a little bit of extra info, but a PNG is a file or an image file that allows transparency. So the things that you're looking at here that are black spots, in an overlay, that's actually transparent. Right now, StreamLabs by default basically automatically assumes that anything transparent, they're going to transmit as black to Twitch. So if you don't put anything in that area, it's going to look, again, trust the preview. The preview is exactly how it's going to look. So that's what it would look like if I went live right now. But I need more to this, obviously. I need, let's see. Again, I really wish that I could add a live moving webcam right now. It just doesn't work, so we're gonna pretend again. I'm gonna open that PMG again because I already have my fake webcam set up. Boom, that source is ready. Boom, I'm gonna add that source again. We're good to go. My webcam, I can throw it right in there and we can get all the forehead, but wait, it's on top. So the way that this works, and this is beautiful. If you're familiar with Photoshop, this is going to make so much sense to you. But you are looking down on the sources. Wes fake webcam right here, that's the very top source. So no matter what, that's going to be in front of everything else that you see. Cam overlay is underneath that. So you can see how that changes when you move your sources. You can just say, oh, the overlay's in front. Let me put that in back, and vice versa. So watch, I'm just gonna drag my fake webcam under my cam overlay, and boom, there it is. It's underneath. But I'm also taking up both mine and Reenie's spot here. So what do I do with this? I could drag it up so that all you see is my chin, but we all know my forehead's my best angle. So this is where I said I was going to teach you some pro tips. This is a super cool one. Instead of just dragging and trying to make things fit and working with them, if you hold the Alt key and grab one of these anchors, which is this white box at the edge here, holding the Alt key and dragging up actually cuts the source rather than just moving it. Pro tip. You won't necessarily need to use that on your first scene. Might only come in handy once you get some overlays and stuff like that going on. But if you get into streaming, I promise you're going to start thinking about overlays and stuff like that in like the first week. So that's a very cool tip. It is super easy to use, and especially like when I do this show, I've got multiple cameras that I need to fit and overlap and put them in the right. It makes it so much easier, trust me. So the last thing that we're going to talk about as far as adding these kinds of visual sources to your screen is one of the most important ones is, Wes, how do I get my video game on there? How do I get, like, if I'm coding, how do I get the screen that I'm coding on there? I didn't forget about that. What we need to do here is we need to look at some of these awesome sources that they give us options to. Like I said, you've got a lot of them. Window capture. That's if you want a certain specific window that you always want displayed. This is awesome because you can minimize that window and it still displays. So if I've got a video game going, I'm playing Monster Train on this. Well, we won't. Let's not do a game. Let's say I want to window capture my YouTube. I'm playing stuff on YouTube. I window capture that Google Chrome page, or window rather, and I minimize that window. Well, you don't dox your desktop background that way. It still shows that window capture. I always suggest, if you can, use a window capture because it does kind of protect you in that way. You don't have to worry about what's on the background. Whereas if I minimize StreamLabs right now, oh, my background, I'm doxxed. Like if you have something stupid on your background or you forget to close a certain window or something, like, bummer, you just showed whatever's behind that. It might not be a big deal, but it's something to consider, and window capture kind of just, it's that extra peace of mind that you don't have to worry about something going, unless the window closes. That's always the thing. The other thing that you might be adding, a very common one, would be game capture. This, just like it, I'll show you how it works. When you add a source like game capture or window capture, I'm just going to call this Assassin's Creed. It is going to look for games to capture, and then you can drop this list and basically it'll be like, oh, if there are any open games right now, I will grab that and display it on the screen. Super easy to do. The same thing happens when you do a window capture. It lists a bunch of windows for you, and you basically just pick from a drop-down list and look and be like, oh, Assassin's Creed.exe, that's the one I'm looking for. You find the Google Chrome window that has the same title of the one that you're looking for. That it's super easy, whether you're doing a game or a window capture. But the one that we're going to do for this one actually is I'm going to do a display capture. Now, this is the one that I would suggest if you can't get the other ones to work. If for whatever reason you have to do a display capture, it is going to take whatever is on your monitor no matter what. That's why when I minimized StreamLabs before, y'all saw my background. And that's just the way that it works, unfortunately. Everyone will see all of your hacks, exactly. So I'm going to just call this one Monitor 1 and add source. And as you can see, it's grabbing my entire monitor here. So this is kind of how I'm showing y'all what I'm doing right now. We're getting a little bit of like Streamception here. So I had just added this monitor, and because this monitor, the entire display, and this will be the case for any game that you're playing on like your full screen 1080p monitor, it's going to take up the full screen because that's the size of the screen. But I want that inside this capture. So what do? I size it to about where I want it to be. Let's say I want to be able to show this much. And then again, we're looking at it top down. So monitor 1, if that's at the very front, you're not going to be able to see this. So we pull it down again under the overlay, under the webcam, and boom. Now we've got a clean inside the box look. So if you're using an overlay, and a combination of cameras, that's going to be a super easy way to do it. Now, the only couple things that I'll add right here are there a few useful things that you can do here. If you want to change, let's say, I like to change the overlays by going to the source properties and browsing for a new local file. But basically, if you click on one of your sources and click on the properties, it's basically going to bring up the exact same configuration box that you use to set up the source. So if you messed up setting up the source at the very beginning, you can just go into the properties and change it that way. If you want to, there are actually some filters that you can put on the visual layers as well. But the only one that I'm really going to tell you about, because it's the only one that's really very common at the beginning, is going to be chroma key. I wonder if it'll let me do it on this one. It will, even though it's not a camera. So if you want to turn your green screen background into nothingness, you can go ahead and add a chroma key just like that. You right click on your source. In your case, your source is going to be your webcam. You're going to apply the chroma key, and if you need to turn it off, I'm in the middle of the stream, I want to turn off my chroma keys, I can just go to filters and click off the chroma key. You can also set up that kind of stuff through like your Stream Deck and whatever, but if you don't have that, it's still super easy to turn on and off filters through the program. So that's a quick overview on how you can get sources into your scenes. That should hopefully get you going. Before we go into some audio stuff and some on-the-fly adjustments, does anyone have any questions so far? We're still going to do alert boxes and then really just some quick audio adjustments that most people need. So we're gonna hit on the last two essentials. But if anyone has any questions from anything that we've talked about so far or going forward, feel free to drop them in chat. We'll get them to me. And I don't see anything so far. If not, I'll address it when I do. So we'll go ahead. We'll go into alert boxes. One thing that's super fun let's go back to my forehead just because it's easier for me to look at. One thing that everybody has on their stream is an alert. If you get a new follower, if you get a new subscription, if you get a tip, you want to let your community know. Now, there is so much customization that you can do in alerts and through alerts. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to show you how to set up the super basic ones, and then I'm going to show you how it's super easy to go further than that, but we're not going to go further than that today. Now, StreamLabs knows what's up. They mark this one as essential because you do need an alert box. It's an awesome thing to have. I'm going to go ahead, choose that alert box from my add new source. Again, you're going to need to do this on each scene, and that's important because your alerts might be in different places on each scene. On here, it would make sense to put the alerts down here, right? But on here, I want them dancing right up on my forehead. So you want to add an alert box to every scene. You can set it up once and re-add that alert box, but you need to add it and you need to put it in the right position for each scene. So when you add alert box, it takes you to this. It asks you how big do you want it to be. It asks you what kind of things do you want it to go off for. For now, especially if you're starting out streaming, like all of these things are good. If you're a huge streamer with hundreds of viewers, yeah, you're probably gonna want to turn off follows because hearing an alert every time a follow goes off can get a bit annoying. But for now, let's assume that we want to use all of these. We're gonna go ahead and add it. Don't worry about these things too much yet. You don't need a background color, and that's a good thing. And moderator tools and source are, again, if you want to get more customized with it. But let's keep it simple. Okay, Wes, what's this? It's a blank box. It is a blank box, but that's because I have no alerts going right now. So everyone go sub to my channel. No, I'm just kidding. This isn't even connected to my channel. StreamLabs actually gives you a super easy way to test this. So, boom. I think I want all my alerts to dance right on my forehead, right? So I go down here to the bottom right and test widgets. What's this? I can test all this stuff. Beautiful. What does it look like when someone follows WesCisa? Boom. Okay, so that's how my alerts are going to look. That's where it's going to get cut off. That is an embarrassing picture of me dancing 5 years ago. You can test your follows, your subscriptions, donations, your bits, and a host. So all of this stuff, you can just easily see exactly where it's going to show up. And if you want to get into that next step and start messing with all the cool different alerts that you can, there are tons and tons of them on the website. If on the bottom left here, if you're following my cursor, there's a button that says dashboard. That takes you to your StreamLabs dashboard where you can do tons of stuff for your StreamLabs online. You can set up like half of your StreamLabs online. It's super cool. But one of the things that you'll see there, and also in the store, which is up here, but I kind of prefer the dashboard web application, is all kinds of themes, alerts, all that stuff. Like this thing that I got here for my actual stream, I don't stream, but these, I got these all from a free package that I'm pretty sure was on StreamLabs. I didn't have to do any editing, so, and then there was also like specific alerts. I wonder if I still have those set up. No, I probably have my stupid meme ones of myself set up, so I'm not even going to check that. But if you want to get further into it, like I said, it's as easy as going down here, clicking dashboard. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about, and this is a kind of a doozy because audio always is kind of a doozy, is how can you make voice changes on the fly? I'm watching this down here, and I, from using StreamLabs, know that my voice hitting around the middle of the yellow right here, that's about exactly where I want to be. Sometimes it bumps up into the red, but if I'm consistently in the green down here, I know that that's too quiet and I need to turn myself up. So you get used to these things, but when you're monitoring these things real time and you're saying, you know, I open up a new video game and that's got a different volume and I haven't been able to get into the settings yet and change the volume. If I see it blast all the way up into the red right here, I'm going to be like, oh, I need to change that quick. What can I do real quick? Boom, I can turn the volume way, way down. And let me actually do that on my mic since I'm not broadcasting here, and you can actually see how this works real time and shows you what the effect is as you drag it. You don't even have to release the button to see what effect it's having on the output levels. So that is really, really cool. Yeah, it really is, Dylan, paying attention to those and getting used to what your stream should be. It can be very difficult. So that one's super simple, but there are some other things that you're probably going to want to do. I've still got these on here. Let me actually just get rid of those. It's super easy. A few things that you're probably going to want to set up on your microphone, or some of the first things that you're going to want to set up. And these are, again, all super easy. Again, for just like when you're changing your sources in the middle here, if you need to get into the properties or the filters of one of your audio sources, it's the exact same way. You're clicking the cog, you're going to properties if you want to like bring up that initial dialog box that says what device are we listening to here, and you've also got filters. Filters, just like we added the chroma key, are right here. Now, it's super easy. You saw me take down the volume. That's something that you may need to do on the fly if, like I said, you open up a game and it's blasting everybody's ears out. But also, if you need to add volume, it's kind of strange because StreamLabs actually automatically has everything at 100%. Luckily, one of the easiest filters to add is gain, which is going to be how you increase the volume. So I'm going to go over that one real quick. It's the easiest thing in the world. Again, you watch it as you use it. So you see my voice is now only getting into the greens. That's because I'm actively adjusting the gain. If I go ahead and put it all the way up here, you see that my voice is always in the red, which is bad. We know that from experience, or I know that from experience because I've watched what is an acceptable level for my stream, and you should all do the same. The next one that is going to be super common. Do you have an electric or a mechanical keyboard? Do you have fans going on? Do you have a cat that likes to yell a lot? Noise suppression. This is going to basically tell StreamLabs only broadcast the volume coming from this microphone if it goes above a certain level. So you can kind of figure out where your voice is and just remove everything below that. Got to be careful because you don't want it to cut off anything that's like if you want to just go and whisper to chat and say something quietly, you got to be careful. But what this attempts to do is cut out all the low decibel things. So go in here. Again, audio is so personal that I don't even have a number to tell you to start at, but I will tell you that StreamLabs does a really good job of guessing that number for you. So for all of these things, I would go ahead, turn them on if you want to use them, and then either do a test stream on a test account. Don't test on your live real account. It looks bad if you go live just to troubleshoot some sound. Or if you need to do this on your own, right next to that test widgets button that I was showing you earlier where you can test your host and follow alerts and stuff, there's a record button. You can record your own stream and just see how these levels sound. Just do it for 30 seconds. I did it in OBS before I went live. I did a bunch of recordings just to make sure that volume levels were okay and stuff. I wasn't clipping, I wasn't cutting out at all. But that's your noise suppression for you. If your noise suppression turns out to be cutting off a lot of what you're saying, just like the filters on your camera, just open up the properties, turn it off temporarily, go and tweak it later. Super easy to do. The final one that I'm going to show you is a compressor. Now, this is what I call the Carly Cartoons filter because it takes any audio above a certain level and it tweaks it down to a more acceptable level. So if I'm playing a game and I decide that something is BS and I start screaming at the top of my lungs, it's not going to go that loud for you. Because at a certain point, it's like, okay, Wes, you hit right here, and then you went way up here. We're going to bring it back down to here for you. But you still get to express all of your emotion. Your chat can still tell you're screaming. It's like a stage whisper where yeah, they can tell you're whispering, but your volume didn't actually change. It's an amazing feature. And again, it takes a lot of tweaking, but the default settings are probably going to mostly work for you. So go ahead, turn it on, run a couple tests, scream, maybe warn your neighbors first, and see if it works for you. See if it keeps that level, that scream at an acceptable level. If you're just doing chatting talks and you don't really ever expect to scream into your stream, you probably don't need this. It's probably okay. And then the last one that we're going to add, or that we're going to look at, I'm not even going to go deep into this one because what it really is a more specialized version of the voice or the noise suppression. So it aims to accomplish the exact same thing, but it has a lot more customization on how you can do that. So thresholds, attack time, hold time, those are all very technical terms on when does the effect start, how long after the decibel threshold does it end. It gets very technical, but again, default settings are pretty good. If you're looking for a noise gate and voice suppression isn't doing it for you, try this, use the default settings, test it out, and if it doesn't work, go do a Google search for an article on how to adjust these kinds of things, because I promise they're not easy. It can actually be a pain, but like I said, the defaults are usually really good, and you might be able to get a lot from that. So there you have it. We've got alerts. They make noise. We've got a fake webcam. We've got a screen capture. Look, Carly, I thought you'd still be sleeping. And I didn't think you'd watch the VOD. So we're kind of wrapping up here. Does anybody have any questions? Again, this is a very cursory overview on how to get started. I hope this was understandable for people who are completely new to streaming and didn't even know where to start. If not, feel free to hit us up. We've got an amazing Discord full of streamers and community members and moderators and people that are just there willing to help. So check out the Discord. I'm not seeing any questions come in, which I hope is a good sign. I hope I did all right for everybody. I hope that made sense. I'm going to go back to OBS. It's so hard to not try and change my scene in slobs because I'm so used to slobs. Okay, so, yeah, we're wrapping it up. Like I said, we've got an amazing Discord. Check it out. We've got more shows coming up next week. This is going to be the last one for this week, but we're going to be back on Monday with Stream Scene. If anything about that changes, I think I don't want to say anything. We've got a lot of shows planned next week. If you want to know exactly when those shows are going on, make sure you're following us on Twitter. That will always be the most up-to-date place to find out when and on what topics our shows are going to be. The other thing is, we're still going on with workshops. We've got another one that's coming up next week. So, Shadow Temple. If you were there for the first workshop that Shadow Temple did, it was incredible. I was blown away. It was amazing. Too good. Now, he's doing one on the Path to Twitch partnership. So, are you an affiliate? Are you brand new to streaming, but you want to get that check mark? You want to get to that affiliate spot? Or that partnership spot. One up. Check it out. That's going to be next week at the same time. So 6:30 Eastern on this channel. All the other shows are on this channel. If I didn't miss anything, I think it's time to call it a great night. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And I hope someone out there is going to go and stream in 45 minutes after watching this. So everyone, take care. We'll talk to you later, and we'll see you next week.